So some students inside of their scenes are running into issues with light maps where they're seeing little breaks in here, right? Where there's a little seam happening. So I'm going to show you one way around that. Here I have my door frame piece. I'm in the sub-object here of Edit Poly. I'm in Element. I'm going to select this column piece. I'm going to come over here to Edit Geometry to detach and click on Settings. And I'm going to say Detach as Clone, and I'm going to call it Wall Column. And say OK. Now I'm going to click up here on Edit Poly, right click on this guy and say Hide Select, and that just leaves me with this piece. So let's put an FFD 2x2 on it. Go into Control Points, grab everything, and then in Move Mode, just zero out X and Y. Right, so that's gonna center him out here. All right, and so now we'll real quick go into Unwrap UVW, go to Map Channel 2, and just say Abandon, and then open the UV editor, and I'm just gonna repack all these, adjust the padding to 0.05, and hit Set. All right, right click, say Convert to Edit Poly, put one more Edit Poly on it, copy this name Wall Column, say File, Export Selected, and then in the same folder with all your pieces, just export that one piece of geometry out. So let's browse to assets, find where all those are, go Import, and I'm going to import my wall column. Make sure Auto Generate Collision is off, Generate Lightmap UVs is off, Combine Meshes is off, and make sure Import Textures is unchecked and you're set to Do Not Create Materials, and say Import. I'm going to double click to open this, backtrack to where my material is and assign it and save that. And then let's go back to where these pieces are and select our wall column. Now I'm just going to take this piece, copy and paste, and then just override it here. And so there's my wall column, and he's short. All right. So I want him to be taller. So let's work on this a little bit. Let's go vertex point. I'm going to go out to the front view, and here's our grid. I'm just going to take all this and raise it up so it's about at the 400 unit mark. All right. And just to double check where that is, we'll put an FFD on, grab the control points, and just make sure the top is at 400. Now let's just take this whole thing and export it out again. Export selected, wall column, yes. Okay. Now if I come back here to Unreal, I re-import, there it is. So it's colliding with the edges right now, right? And so I could kind of take a look at my edge pieces, and I'm going to select this edge, this wall, this floor, and this wall column. Right click and say Visibility, Show Only Selected. So now this wall column here, I want them to kind of be sitting directly underneath it. There's a couple ways you could do it. You can come into Scale, and if you keep this unlocked, you can actually type in values. So I want to just click on only my wall column now. I'm going to try like 0.9. Oh, that's not what I want. There we go, 0.9, 0.95. Now see, 0.95 looks like it does it, right? That kind of places it just underneath that column. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to Unreal, and in Scale, I need to make sure I'm on the second one, which is non-uniform. I'm going to set my Z value to 95%, and that'll match the 0.95 in Unreal. And now here under Utilities, I'm going to find something called Reset X Form. You may have to click More to find it. I'm going to go Reset X Form and click Reset Selected, which adds this X form. All I'm going to do is just say Collapse All, and then put an Edit Poly on it. Now Reset X Form removes that, so now this is 100% its height, which happens to be that 95 value. So it's Export Selected, wall column, yes, okay. And now when I come back over here and re-import it, you see it's short, but that's because it's not at its full height. When I put it at 1, now he fits in there. So now I could go through and I could start selecting these pieces and overriding them and getting this kind of interesting sort of detail in there. Now you could remap it, change it around, tweak it, adjust it however you want, but that's one way to go in and cover up those seams, right? Now there's other things you could do. You could find where the particular actor is, go to General Settings and click on the Show Advanced, and you could increase your Lightmap resolution. Do it by doubling this every time, 128, 256. Sometimes that helps, but also there's a lot to be said for going in and putting a new texture, a new piece of geometry to kind of break up the wall, because the wall does get, let's face it, it is a little bit repetitive, having that same, you know, kind of geometry everywhere. And for pieces like the corner, right, he really doesn't come out that much. So we could potentially even go in, if we set this to 10, maybe I'll set it to 10 and just move him out a little bit further here at the corners, just to make it a little bit more interesting. There we go. But then make sure I put this back in 100. But then I could go through and I could start selecting all these pieces with the idea that I'm going to do an override on them to place kind of that edge piece that we have made previously in here. And see, that just starts to add additional detail in there for me. So that's one way you could deal with that.